Okay, so I just finished watching season 5 of Cobra Kai. Okay, it's really funny because there was a lot of tension in this season because you didn't trust who was going to betray who. The whole time, I was paranoid thinking that Chosen was going to betray Daniel, and part of the reason is because in the very beginning when when what's his face when Terry is talking to Chosen, he talks about how he lost a fight that he should have won, and he genuinely seemed really pissed about it. So I'm like, okay, he's going to turn against Daniel. The other thing too is I thought that Mike Barnes was working with what's his name, with Silver, just based on the fact that when he called the lawyer, Silver ended up having the voicemail. But I guess it makes sense that if he called Silver's lawyer, the lawyer, because of the duty of loyalty to his client, would just pass the message on to Silver and not actually call Daniel back, which makes sense. But yeah, it was a really weird season. It definitely didn't seem as kid-centric, which I actually liked a lot. My favorite season is the first season. It's been the first season, and followed by the third season. Then the second season, and finally my least favorite season was the fourth so far. Here, it's hard to say. This season, it actually feels more linear. It feels less like the fourth season was kind of just disjointed when you went from these characters to these characters, this good. Whereas this felt a little bit more linear, even though it was still a bit disjointed. But I liked this season better than the fourth season. I don't think it was as good as the first season. Definitely not as good as the first season. I would almost argue it was better than I wouldn't say it was as good as the second season though. So right now, like I said, I have 1, 3, 2, 5, and 4. The production value is better with Netflix, obviously, but I think there's something about, when you have more of a budget, you somehow get a little bit less creative with the writing, because when you don't have a budget, you have to get a lot more creative to get things done. But when you have unlimited money, it feels like you put less into the writing, less into the dialogue. It's a bit less nuanced. Like the one thing that I could say about the first and second seasons, they felt a lot more nuanced, and even the first 3 seasons felt a lot more nuanced. Season 4 just was a little bit more broad. And same with season 5. Like, in other words, it's going for a broader audience, as opposed to just being for hardcore Karate Kid fans. Like, the references were not quite as there in season 5 that they were in definitely seasons 1 through 3. 1 through 3 had all these little references. Yes, of course, there are references in all the episodes, but it's not quite as nuanced to where, like, somebody who's watched Karate Kid 2 90 times would be like, oh yeah, look at that, oh look at that. That wasn't the situation with this. Chosen was really funny. I like it. He was like a comic relief, but at the same time serious, which was really nice. Mike Barnes was hilarious because he was like a bull at a china shop, and I love that he was pissed at Terry Silver, because if you think about it, right, he made him sign a contract when he was only 17. It's like, first of all, that's an illegal contract right there. It definitely, I mean, you can't hold it against a 17-year-old. Doesn't really hold water. But obviously some of the fighting was inconsistent, but you had to do that because otherwise the story just doesn't make sense. I mean, for instance, earlier when they were fighting one of the senseis from Korea, it took Chosen and Johnny together to even stand a chance against one of them. But then when they were facing 6 or 7 of the instructors from Korea, Johnny was able to handle most of them on his own, even though he was getting beaten up. It didn't really make so much sense, but I get it. For the story, they have to. it was awesome at the very end. Oh, the very end was awesome when Daniel basically used the Quicksilver method against Silver, but also ended it with the crane, which was awesome because he'd make fun of him. Oh, what do you think? You gonna use that crane crap again? Which is what he would made fun of him in Karate Kid 3. And Daniel said, well, it worked pretty well last time. And I love that he was able to he knocked him out. I mean, that was not a point match or anything like that. He stopped him, which was really cool to see that he stopped Silver. I mean, he beat him psychologically. You know, when anybody who's in a martial arts or boxing, somebody does that to you psychologically, you're just not the same. I mean, that person beat you before, he can beat you again. It's a hell of a thing. It was really cool to see Daniel stop him, basically. I felt bad for Chosen. He had a hell of a fight against Silver, but he got hurt pretty badly. I thought he died. I legitimately thought Silver died. The interesting thing, though, now is with Kreese escaping from prison. It's like, okay, what's his angle? Yes, he's going to be pissed at Daniel and Johnny. He's not going to know Chosen, but he's going to be mad at Daniel and Johnny simply because, he basically said, no mercy, motherfucker. So they helped. In a sense, Kreese helped Johnny and Daniel, helped them get to Silver, but they didn't follow their part of the bargain, so they kind of cheated him. So obviously he's going to be mad at them. Now the question is he going to be able to recreate Cobra Kai? Is he going to be able to recreate Cobra Kai? And also, is the friendship between Silver and Kreese over, or are they going to make amends? And all of a sudden now we're back in a situation where now, okay, well, Silver is probably going to be in prison for a very long time, but now Kreese may have access to Silver's resources if that's Silver's only play. It's really fascinating where it could go. I'm just wondering about all the other kids like Kyler, Kenny, who saw the video of Silver basically admitting to cheating at the tournament, and then they took off their shirts and said, "Screw this." But the question is, can they get lured back to Cobra Kai? Can they get lured back to Cobra Kai by Kreese? Because definitely Tori is going to have a conflict because she likes Kreese. She just didn't have a connection with Silver. So, okay, so if he tries to restart Cobra Kai, does that mean Tori goes back to Cobra Kai? But then it's going to be really difficult also for Tori to keep up with the feud with Sam. And the reason why that's going to be difficult is because Sam basically saved Tori when when Kim Sum Young's granddaughter was smashing her arm. It's like, wait a second, when somebody saves your life, you kind of sort of, it's kind of hard to keep the rivalry up. It's like holy crap, I loved how they settled the rivalry between Robbie and Miguel, because I was getting tired of the Robbie versus Miguel thing. I really wanted that to end, really similar to the Johnny versus Daniel. I remember from the second season, I just wanted the rivalry between Johnny and Daniel. I wanted that to end. It's like, nope, we're done with that. We're friends. We're practically family. I wanted that to end. No rivalry. Yes, you could bicker back and forth, but no rivalry, no fights, friends, like practically brothers. Tremendous. And it's really true because they really should have done it the way Johnny set up Miguel and Robbie to end their rivalry, which is like, nope, you're gonna sell this by combat. No points, no nothing. No, you're gonna go at it. You're gonna beat the living shit out of each other until one of you quits or you're just dead tired. And it was awesome because they got to a point where it's like they're dead tired, and Miguel had the option to kick Robbie one more time, and he would have fallen off a railing. And it's like, hey, look, no, It's like, no, I'm not doing it. It's just not doing it. And they're like, you know what? It was the worst time that was the worst moment of my life. I'm like, yeah, you know what? Even though I didn't get hurt, that was the worst moment of my life too. Like and they agree. It's like, no, and they're practically stepbrothers now, which is tremendous. It's awesome. I love that they got rid of that, because that was getting tiring. That whole rivalry between friends. I was really concerned about Mike Barnes, because I was like, oh man, are they is he gonna betray them, this and that? But it was very clear. It's like, nah, especially toward the end when toward it's like, hey, look, Silver just burned down his father-in-law's business. It was like tremendous. So let's just go there. But now it's really weird, because like, okay, so Cobra Kai still did get into this tournament. He did get into the tournament. That idea to go into the tournament to expand, that was Silver's idea, but Kreese could theoretically still run with it. It's just weird. What I don't know is how the hell is Cobra Kai gonna go back to being a thing? I guess the only people who saw the video were the original students, but all the other studios. But all the other studios didn't see that video, although it is uploaded into the YouTube channel of Cobra Kai. So in theory, a bunch of people would see it by now. Anybody who would have access to the Cobra Kai website, I guess that would have been, I think that was probably Kreese himself, who would have access to the YouTube channel. So it'd be kind of odd. I mean, not Kreese himself, Silver himself. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. I don't know where a subsequent season goes. I mean, I really don't. Because with season 4, it's like, okay, you set these things up at the end of season 4, so that, for season 5. But now you're like, okay, are they going to now go after the referee? Are they going to do that? Are they going to have to do another tournament again? Are they all still under age 18? Because it's an under 18 tournament. They're still going to be able to go to a tournament because of the they're still going to be able to go to a tournament because of the they got into that international tournament. At least Cobra Kai did, and maybe that will drag people back. Say, hey, look, we want to be able to enter into this tournament. So like, okay, well, we'll just do it under the Cobra Kai banner, just because it's okay. So that might be a way for Kreese to get. I'm assuming. They've always said they have a set end. Had Kreese died in the stabbing scene, and had he really died, and with Silver going to jail, this really felt like this is the end of the show. This is over. Like Silver goes to jail, goes to prison. If it's, California, if you get convicted of attempted murder, which were the charges against Stingray, that's 25 to life. That's a life sentence. With the ability to potentially ask for parole after 25 years. So it's like, there's no guarantee you're going to get out in 25 years. And Silver, is like a 70-something-year-old man. So, it's somebody who's he's going to die in prison. He's going to die in prison. He's just not going to live long enough to get out if he gets a maximum sentence. It's really, I'm just trying to figure out where could they go. Obviously, Robbie and Kenny, they're going to make up. This is really strange, because what do you do with all the rivalries? Kyler, he saw, he's still a dick, but there's the interesting thing that Hawk said to Kyler, which is, look, you're still the same, you're a piece of shit, you're just you're the same bully that you were before, and then he proceeded to beat his ass. So it's like, where does Kyler go from here? Where does he really go from here? Mitch is a problem, because Mitch betrayed Miyagi-Do. He was the mole the whole time, which made sense to some degree. But yeah, it's like, really, I don't know. Obviously Mitch, he's out of the picture. He's definitely not with Miyagi-Do. But he's not with Cobra Kai either. It's like, I think the students who were originally with Kreese, the ones that were originally with Kreese, they're the ones who maybe can get dragged back into Cobra Kai. Uh, yes, the ones that were with Kreese. Um, but but um, but outside of that, like Tori definitely could get dragged in by with Kreese. Um, I mean Robbie no, but I mean Kyler I guess in theory yes. Um, uh, Kenny I don't think knew Kreese, but yeah, so it's weird because the whole thing is now really disjointed. Like it's really hard to say what is going to happen here. But that's what makes it good because the theories are all over the place. I just literally finished watching it 15 minutes ago, just before I turned on this video. I'm like, wow, this is going to be really fascinating, and it's going to be really weird to see all the pieces being put together to make sense. Obviously, Silver is still a very powerful, wealthy man. He's going to be able to manipulate things while he's in prison. He's still going to be able to pay for things. He's still going to be able to do things. Also, Kim Sung Eun's granddaughter, what's her thing? I mean, she might, obviously because of her legacy, she's going to want to keep Cobra Kai going. She's going to want to keep going that. And so there might be a situation where Kreese might try to wrestle Cobra Kai from Kim Sung Eun's granddaughter. There might be a wrestling issue there. But like I said, there's a lot to unpack. It sucked that Miguel was making out with that girl, but hey, to be fair, Sam is the one who broke up with him, and so it's like, okay, fine, well then, hell, hey, look, that was her risk, and but they made that up. Tori and Robbie, I think that's a great couple. It's tremendous. But yeah, and then what's gonna happen with Kenny versus what's his face, Daniel LaRusso's son. I mean, Anthony, are they going to keep that going? Are they going to still hate each other's guts? Are they going to make up? But I don't have the same level of excitement for a season 6. Maybe I have to see other reviews or theories, but it doesn't feel quite as cliffhanger-ish. Like in theory, you could just end the show right here, and with this Kreese escaping from prison, and that's it. That's the end of the show. I mean, you could in theory end it, and it would be a semi-satisfactory ending. You don't really need more. Of course, if you want to see more, obviously they set up this huge tournament, so you're gonna want to know what that tournament's about. But yeah, it's really fascinating. I'm wondering, are they gonna? I mean, is Mike Barnes gonna have a role to play in the future? Obviously, Chosen is in the hospital. I'm glad he didn't die. I thought he died, and definitely, and I thought Kreese died. But yeah, it's really fascinating how they did this. Oh boy, I'm sleepy because I've been watching this show. But yeah, it's a lot to unpack. I'm wondering, obviously, Carmen and Johnny are having a baby. There's that. So obviously they're going to be a family, all of them. Miguel, Robbie, the baby. They're all going to be a family, which is cool. Johnny, Daniel's on the high horse now because he knocked out Silver, which was badass. That was awesome. Even though Silver was already tired and beaten up, but hey, I mean, you can't really. I never really expected Daniel to ever be able to beat Silver. So even if he was a diminished Silver, it's like, hey, look, come on, let's do it. And it's not like Daniel was in great shape either. I mean, he was drunk. He was drunk still. It was awesome to see Daniel, Chosen, and Johnny in the limo just getting hammered and singing Eye of the Tiger. And then when you saw all four of them together, Johnny, Daniel, Mike Barnes, and what do you call him, Johnny, I was like, oh my god, I'm having like me being 7 years old or 10 years old, like a oh my god, look at all these characters that you play with little toys when you're a little kid. You're like, oh my god, that'd be so awesome. And this went above and beyond anything I could have imagined as a 10-year-old. Wow, I mean, this is an amazing show. It actually pisses me off regarding Star Wars, because Cobra Kai has like this much budget compared to Star Wars, and you look at Star Wars, the sequel trilogy, and you're like, oh my god, with like a gajillion, with like a hundred times bigger budget and access to everything on the planet to make an amazing film, you somehow manage to screw it up. Yet Cobra Kai really rides the line to make it, this season was probably a little bit too comical with Chosen. There was a little too many comic beats. What's really funny is the whole Kumiko thing. I actually had a theory before watching season 3 that I thought that Kumiko and Chosen may have been a couple at that point. I thought so. But, the other thing that was really cool, the scene where you saw a young Chosen. I'm sorry, no, a young Chosen as a little kid and a young Sato, or at least a relatively young Sato, a 1972 version of Sato. I would love to see a show, but I would not want to see it in English. It would have to be in Japanese, but with English subtitles. I don't know if that would fly very well with an audience, but I would love to see a show of Mr. Miyagi and Sato when they were 16, 17, and then 18. And when he was 18, that's when the whole thing happened with Yukie in Okinawa, and how he left, and Sato was supposed to have an arranged marriage with Yukie, and and Mr. Miyagi came in as the boyfriend and screwed over his friend, basically. I would love to see that story, but like I said, to me, that story wouldn't be very good if it wasn't in Japanese. I think that it should be in Japanese. Yeah, you can get 2 actors to do accents, but I'm not a fan of seeing 2 actors who speak or 2 characters that speak the exact same language, but they're speaking English with an accent, because that's just not realistic. I remember watching, for instance, Desperado with Antonio Banderas and Salma Hayek, and in the whole movie they're just speaking English but with their accents. And I'm like, look, in real life, when you have 2 people whose native language is Spanish, they're just going to speak Spanish. So to me, if Sato and Mr. Miyagi are not speaking Japanese, it's like, it's kind of lame that they wouldn't, it's like, no, speak Japanese. Well, I'll read through the subtitles, but I get it. People don't want a show that's going to be 100% subtitles, but that would just make it a lot more realistic, at least for me. But yeah, season 5, like I said, it's not the same level of high as the end of season 2 for sure, and definitely not at the same level of the end of season 3. I mean, those 2 seasons, the cliffhangers were crazy off the hook. The cliffhanger at the end of season 4 was a little bit less, and then here it's like, yeah, there's a cliffhanger, but it's a lower cliff. So I don't have the same level of excitement. Of course I'm going to watch it, but it's not the same level of excitement as it was after season 2 or season 3. I mean, at the end of season 2, after Miguel fell off the balcony, I was like, dude, I got to see the next episode. Oh my God, I got to wait this much more time. And then, of course, it took forever for season 3 to come out because of the pandemic. But yeah, overall, it was a good season. It was a good watch. I feel that this season has more rewatch value. That's one thing that's really good about this season. I feel like it has way more rewatch value. Whereas season 4, I find it difficult to sit down and rewatch it. I don't know what it is, but I have extreme difficulty rewatching season 4. Season 1, I can watch through that. Season 3, I can watch through that. Season 2, it's a little bit difficult, but season 4 is like, oh, I can't see through this one. But this one, I feel that I definitely has more rewatch value. But I like it. It's would I say it's a 10 out of 10? No, but it's a 9 point something out of 10. I mean, it's great. It's great. Nothing's gonna top the first one, but I mean, unless they do something absolutely spectacular. But that was still tremendous, and yeah. If I was watching a Jeremy Johns review or whatever, I would say it was awesome-tacular. It's really good, and anybody who's a fan of the original 3 Karate Kids is good. Oh yeah, and then Jessica makes an appearance, and it was fascinating to see that Jessica Andrews ended up being Samantha LaRusso's sister. That was kind of cool, because then you get an idea of, oh, that's how they met. Okay, her older sister, or whatever. I mean, that made it, or whatever, younger. I don't even know if they established whether or not who was older, but it was really cool to say, oh, okay, that's the connection. That's kind of how Daniel met his wife. that was really that was really that was really cool. But yeah, I'm curious to see what else will happen. All right, cool.